Oh, hello! It has been a little while, but we are back to things in here now. So I have been doing a few things on, well, behind the scenes, modelling related for a while. Haven't really gone anywhere. Number of things, you know, happen. If you're part of the channel, you've been following the channel for a long time, you'll probably notice that I tend to disappear for a few months. In spring, it's because I work in horticulture, it just gets really busy and there's no time to do very much outside of work. That was compounded a little bit this year, so it came a bit earlier and it stayed a bit longer because we're now into June, and I think I didn't really upload much from the end of February. There was a couple of things going on in there. First off, there was a COVID infection where I live, in the flat that I live in, with my partner, who contracted it, and we made the decision that we were going to try and keep it with her and not with me, and that worked. So that was disruptive. That sort of knocked the mojo as well, and I just started going back to work. So after the little COVID scare that I got away with, I was also building, right in the middle of building the Wingsy kits, Condor Legion 109 that was sent to me by them, which I'm still building. And what with everything that was going on, we don't get political on the channel, so you know, I've decided we're not going to mention anything about it here, because this is for modelling, but you know, it does slightly cross over into modelling. And with Wingsy being a Ukrainian company, like many others, and you know, if you again follow the channel, you will know that I'm a big fan of Ukrainian manufacturers. I've just sat here behind you, the camera that is. I can see AMG models. We've got Dora Wings, Wingsy, obviously down there, and we've also got Mrp, to name but a few. So, you know, with all that was going on, it was a bit of a just seemed a bit silly to be, you know, building models for manufacturers who, you know, basically it shut down and were in many cases on the front line. So that gave me a bit of a sharp stop early on. It happened to a lot of people. You know, I know a lot of modelers lost that sort of mojo. You know, it's not something you really want to carry on with. You know, when it gets a bit real. Moving on from that now, things seem to be settled in a way that companies are certainly mailing out kits, if not actually back to production, and even looking at new releases. So that's coincided with me sort of coming back. So we've got the Wingsy kit on the bench here, which we're going to have a look at in a minute. Also been working at the same time, these were video builds for you guys. Was the Edward Frederick as the box art there with Assi Han, isn't it? Yeah, Hans Assi Han. The old chicken boy Spitfire killer. Well, never mind. It's a lovely scheme. Not too sure I enjoy seeing the Spitfire going down on the box art, but there we go. That pretty much gets us to where we are. There's been a few things that have come in the meantime. There's been a few things I've been working on. Tank wise, basically do tanks and aircraft if you're new to the channel. Tank wise, I've got the Tamiya Panzer IV-F that I bought as soon as it came out in, I believe, November 2020, which I was going to build straight out of the box as a sort of basic but taking skills to the next sort of step, you know, moving on from the basic modelling series. And I still haven't finished it, so that one's going on, heading on for 2 years now, so that's surprising to say the least. But I'm still working on that in the background. I've got a few other things I'm working on, so I think with all that said, we should transition to the bench. So here we are. To kick things off, we've got the BF109 E3 from Wingsy Kits, which is now has all of the decals, before you guys say anything. Decals, decals for me. So it's had all the decals applied. They've gone down very well. and I'm just in the process of picking out the rivets, because this is my personal view. I believe when you've well, certainly when you've got surface detail like this, you know, my style, my modelling, I have to show that. I just can't put a decal on there and not have rivets and panel lines cut through. So I've been working on that. Don't know how tight we can get in. Help if we were in focus, wouldn't it? So there you should see that the rivets are cutting through those decals quite nicely. That's because I've gone through and picked them out with a pin. Which sounds like a laborious task. I didn't really mind it, to be honest. Funny enough, this will sound bizarre, possibly even nearly mental, but when I wake up, sort of before I do anything, sort of stick the kettle on, wander in here, just have a look at how the setting solution worked overnight, and before I know I was there with a pin. I don't know why, it just seems to be therapeutic, and it's surprisingly quick. So you can see on the upper roundel. So these are now done, almost said sealed. They're not sealed, but essentially they are. They've had plenty of setting solution, been pressed down. They're pretty solid. I'm kind of holding them there again. You can see, and I will be glossing over these in the literal sense of using gloss. What I haven't done is pick them out here. So this is what you deal with generally. So this is Solvaset. So this is applications of microset to get the decal on, and then we put microsol on that, a couple of hits of that using gravity. So I set it up like that, leave it overnight generally, and then we start hitting that with Solvaset to try and get that down. Great stuff, not really available in the UK. We've got a bit of a problem in the UK with strong setting solutions. Not sure what that's all about. So we either can't get them, or if we get them, they're not the same as what they are in other countries. Mr. Mark Setter Neo, for instance, which is meant to be how you get around Tamiya decals and Japanese decals. Well, you know, our bottle doesn't have in it whatever it does. So in other countries, it doesn't quite work the same. I managed to get a bottle of Solvaset from a die-cast car model shop in Oxford randomly online. It's long since gone from being in stock. It's an American product, however it is an absolute hammer. I mean, it just beds these in. You can see that the rivets are starting to show through, so it's a simple case of just using a pin, and I actually drag it because once they're stuck on, they're almost sort of melted in a little bit, so I just sort of drag it along the line. When I feel it a divot, I push it and go like that. And again, it's only a matter of, so you've got one horizontal line running through there, another one here, that's it. Then you're just going down along the panel lines, so it's only a matter of, you know, 5 minutes, and then you sort of go back along some of the others as well, and then it's done. And the effect is much greater, as you can see if we contrast this to this, where it's much more uniform, much better. The eye locks onto it, much more enjoyable. You're not going to see much because this is black, but if these were white or had white bits in it, or certainly where this is white here, once you get your wash on it, it will really cut through and show it more. Had to hand paint the white wall on the tyre there, which is certainly a Spanish and early 109 feature. So there we are. So really my return, as it were, was to get these two sorted. So this one was in the box, just had the, what should we call it, a pre-shade? I guess we should. It's what I do when I'm using MRP. These are Mrp paints. With Mrp I usually put a Tamiya colour down, which is a close match. So for this I put ROM grey on top, and I think it was the light blue underneath, and then that just gives you a bit of help when you get on with the Mrp, which can be a bit thin, or you need to put a lot on to get the coverage. Then we sort of mist it around. I find their blues, certainly their 65, which this is, very strong coverage. It absolutely just obliterates anything underneath it, and you don't see any of it bleed through. But on top, I can already see it. It might not show up so well, but when this gets a matte coat on, I've done that. I don't know how many. What have I built? 5, 6 109s, Condor Legion 109s. Done this every time, and it will bleed through, and you already get a sort of panel lining thing. I suppose it's a mixture of like pre-shading, black basing, all that sort of stuff. You're just letting that darker coat bleed through. So that was that. Bit of a complex job to get that exhaust kind of strip on. Something the Germans seemed to like. It didn't like wiping down the aircraft. Or maybe they did. I'm sure they wiped it down. They just didn't like it staining their beautiful paintwork, I think. So that is the Condor Legion 1, which is looking very nice. And then that leads us on 109 Central to the Edward F. So I was really pleased with this, the way that camouflage has come out. Basically been using an old airbrush for a very long time. No, I haven't. A not very good airbrush. You know, the Ultra, the Harder & Steenbeck Ultra, which is a fine airbrush, but you know, it's not really quality. It's pretty base level. And then I bought a Procom Boy something or other 0.2 needle off of a guy at club, and boy oh boy, that was night and day. I mean, I was going up along here and it was spitting and starting, and I've said in other videos as well, even when I'm trying to do model, I get a lot of problems. So the first thing is, paint wasn't thin enough in the past, so I've learnt that. But then when you actually get a good airbrush, boy oh boy, I got this on so tight. It was like the equivalent of 1/72 modelling, I think. So that was the first pass. And this is all filmed, because I thought that's what I was going to stay with. He being a 109 sort of, should I say expert? Well, we'll go for it. Sort of guided me through what the paint should look like, this being a pretty well-known scheme. And we got there in the end. I was pretty reasonably happy with this. I think everyone who knows what it's meant to look like is pretty happy with the way this looks. You can see it a bit better over there, as you can see. So it's kind of like a heavy mottle, and I lowered the demarcation line as well. I started it off quite high. We sort of blended it, and it was quite sharp. I've left it sharp on the wings just because I like that. Tried to keep the paint very tight on this model, which I hope is showing. And yeah, now the decals have gone on. Funny enough, it ain't not like the box art, really, is it? Well, I should have been looking at that, shouldn't I? Numpty. It's the first time I've looked at it. Well, anyway, there we are. So yeah, that must be heading in the right direction. So I'm kind of happy to get this one on along now. Using the Edward decals. I had a bit of a problem on the uppers. Put the Edward decals on, tried to peel them. Wasn't for me. Sanded them back, resprayed. So these are extra decal, which have just sat on there. They've gone down nice, but I mean, they've sat on there like stickers, I guess. Is the only way to describe it. But we will get them down using the same old tricks. Already had a go at that panel line, so I got that through. I'm sort of filming this, trying to get a tutorial, I guess, for want of a better term. So just working on this to just let it do it naturally, and then over here I'm already working on what I would be doing. You know, I'd already be cutting through the panel lines. So what I actually do, I used to go through with a knife, but now I just use a pin again, just drag it along the panel line, and what that does, whereas a knife essentially cuts it, and then you're going to use setting solutions to pull it down. The pin, because it's kind of rounded, it sort of cuts, but also pushes and I'm trying to think of the word. I seem to be using hand actions. Sort of like buffs it down. You know, like if you were to get on a mask and you'd really want to push it down and kind of the word's not coming to me, but you know what I mean. And it does that. So instead of just cutting, it actually does that, and it pushes it against the inner panel lines as well. So you automatically get, you know, it really quite flush and looking really quite natural. You see, it's not like it's there and then you got to kind of blend it in again. So that's working quite well. But I must say, these Edward decals, they got crazy carrier film. I mean, it's massive. You can see it on that triangle. It's about, you know, a good sort of 3 mil wide around it. However, it's quite thin. And I must say, just with setting solutions, these bed right in, and the rivets sort of pull right through it as well. So it's looking really good. I did these crosses back along when I did the paint lift. The decal lift up here. So anyway, I'm waffling on here. You must excuse me, I've got a Budweiser to the side, so it's a bit of a fast and loose evening here, thanks to the Jubilee. But we'll keep going. So there we are. It's looking the part. It has been a week of decaling, I must admit, and I've been sort of thinking about doing something else, but I'm in that sort of mood where I want to kind of just get things across the line, if that makes sense. I've got some... it's just how the time goes. When you record stuff as well, it boggles the mind. I've got a tank up there which I thought, I must have done, you know, a few months ago. It's a year ago. I built it, filmed it, and thought, well, I'll do the painting. It's still not been painted. So I might get to that. Thinking about little vignettes, you know, I'm trying to push myself a bit further, I guess is what I'm trying to say, and that is inevitably holding me up. So something will give. I want to get the video out and get the thing moved on and start something else. So I'll either finish the vignette or I won't. But you will be the first to know, you guys. So we've got, obviously we've got 109F up there, but I have been, and the one thing you can do is buy kits. So carrying on from the old Italieri, what's it called? 8 rad, 6 rad? No, it's not called either of that. The Puma. I was after this one when it got re-released. Not quite as an impressive re-release. It kind of perked up the Puma somewhat, whereas this is just straight up what it was back along. But I'm going to see what I can do with this. I'm going to come at this from out the box. If I got stuff like, you know, resin tool clamps, that sort of thing, well then so be it. But I won't be buying an etch set or anything for this, just be sort of seeing what I can do. Trying not to use the term classic build, but or vintage. Probably leave that to Spencer Pollard, but I might do something, you know, with what's in here, and it may be done reasonably soon. I've got a hankering to do some German grey. This is one of those that you know, it's German grey, or German grey. So there we are. Pretty good iconic vehicle. One for the German guys. Bit of a blitzkrieg sort of thing, 6 rad, very iconic, and a bit of a classic model. I'm hoping the Duck is coming, the DUKW, because that is one I wish I'd got back along. I didn't get, and seems impossible to find, and it doesn't seem to have had many re-releases either. But that's another vintage kind of Italieri kit I got on my scope. I also got, I won't get it out, but I didn't realise they'd even release this. It was a Fiat 508 Colonial, which I'm thinking of doing a Russian one, because not a lot of people know, not a lot of people seem to know that the Italians were in Russia, so that might be an interesting kind of twist. I think it's a one around Stalingrad or something. It didn't do very well, as I think we all know. And then last off, let's head on over to this. So I've got the A to E series of this. I never actually picked up this one. I wasn't really interested in later marks of 109s back then. But it is starting to creep back in again. And this has just had a re-release, updated and expanded. If it's just the models, I mean, you could have probably done without them, but there you are. So we've got the border models 135th 109, which according to the chap in here is nice try but don't bother. And then we've got a very odd choice. I think they might have been scraping the barrel to chuck another one in here. Is a converting a Revel Hasegawa 109 G4 to a G12 using an Alley Cat resin conversion. I mean, you know, I'm down for all of what that's about, but I do struggle to see what the relevance to anyone is with this. You can't get the Revel or Hasegawa kit very easily. From what I can see, Alley Cat is not really going anymore. But anyway, there you go. It's all by the same person generally, apart from one build, so I don't know. I find the Valiant Wings model builds generally a letdown, but that's my personal view, which I'm fully entitled to, especially as I bought this book myself. But the content of the book is everything you want. You know, you've got your colour profiles. I know this is a bit out of focus. I thought I'd do that because then I can get around showing you a few things. I don't think anyone can complain. I mean, who's going to complain, and what am I going to do about it if they do? But anyway, there you go. We've got the old Desert 109s. These Fs. God, I tell you what. Never really noticed the F before, but I'm starting to notice it now. And what these books are brilliant for is the sort of breakdown. I mean, take it with a pinch of salt, but struggling to see here. Hang on. It's not just blurry, it's bright white. What we've also got is sort of the rundown of the production and how things change. I would say take it with a pinch of salt, cross-reference. It's, you know, what shall I say, 85% right most of the time. What I really know a little bit about is the Condor Legion 109s, and I know they've got a few sort of generic things that aren't really correct. It's been widely found to be false, but it's still printed in there. So you may get that here. I mean, I wouldn't know looking at it, to be honest, but I cross-reference with guys who do know and other things, and you can kind of get there. But again, you can really take probably 90% of what's going on in here is gospel, I would imagine. But as always, you know, you should never just use one reference. But we've got a lot of nice, interesting stuff going on here. And the thing about these later marks, especially when you get into the Gustavs, is when you start getting into the later Gs and the Ks, it starts getting a bit mad. Very interesting schemes. Like we've got here, K4, you know, an absolutely glorious looking thing. So there we are. That's a new edition. If you didn't get it first time, well, it's back out again. Head over to Valiant Wings and grab yourself one if it's of interest. Italian Gustavs. I mean, there's something for the future, isn't it? Romanian. Spanish. Swiss. Who's that? Yugoslav. Well, there we are. And then you sort of get a breakdown of kits and, you know, what's the best kit, what isn't the best kit. This has also been updated as well. They brought in a couple of newer things. Let's take the K4 there because I've got it in the stash. What do they say? Basically, go down to the verdict. As with all other Hasegawa F and G series kits, this K version is a little basic in places by today's standards, but builds well time after time, and it looks good when completed. The ease of assembly, good overall detail, and excellent production values from Hasegawa make them highly appealing to anyone, from the complete novice right through to the experienced modeler. Well, there you go. See, so it sort of gives you a nice overview, and we won't get into that. So there we are. Much the same from the A to E. Brilliant book, should be in your library if you like 109s. And as we've been 109 heavy, also in the little break there was a birthday, and these are some additions to the birthday. It went a bit mental, to be honest. Why not? I sort of struggled to know what to get. You know, you sort of get to that age where you've already bought all the things you need, you know, so it's just get something that's extravagant, that you probably don't need, which this certainly is. I don't need this, but there we are. Is it a Spitfire Mark 9? No, it's a Spitfire Mark 8, but I got some Mark 9 bits for it because I think it's the same stuff. This is a selection of stuff that was for a the birthday present, and it obviously goes with a kit which is under the bench, and at some point we will have a look, and at some point we are going to do a holy build, no holes barred. We're going to really sort it out, cut my own masks, pick a scheme, do the whole thing. And that is the Tamiya Spitfire Mark 8. I think if you're going to go for it, I'm not going to build two. So let's go for it, really. You know, all the main hitters. We've got HGW belts. I think these are the canvas ones, yeah. Laser cut canvas ones with metal bits. A load of Barracuda stuff that probably doesn't need, but I got it anyway. The exhausts probably don't need them either, but I thought I'd go for it. Lovely redone door here by Barracuda. We've also got, I think it says upgrade part 2, but I think this is just a gun sight really. Tyres, it seems as though the tyres are vinyl in the kit. And rocker colours, which has a embossed logo. And I believe the logo is a decal in the kit. Oh, and a cockpit sidewall. I think on getting this, I've actually not regretted, but I thought, well, I probably didn't need this. But I got it anyway. It just saves me doing a bit of wiring, but I probably would have liked to do the wiring. May still do it, who knows. But there we go. It's Spitfire and 109 crazy here. Still like tanks. There's videos coming. 2 build videos on the way. Probably more to talk about in between. And thanks for staying tuned. So there you go. If you got this far, well done. Been a bit rambly, but you know, trying to have a conversation with each other. That's how I see these videos. Stick it on in the background when you're doing modelling and just hear me ramble on, basically. So hopefully this is of interest and you haven't all gone away. You're still here. Still looking forward to what's coming down the line. There will be some stuff. So when that arrives, I'll see you right there in the next video.